Let's talk about Dua Lipa and radical optimism. Dua has generally been known as a grower, not a shower, meaning she usually doesn't have the biggest songs off the bat. They generally take some time to climb and make their impact known. Radical Optimism is the first album of hers, whether it is neither a grower or a shower. It has had no lasting impact anywhere. Now, most people that have watched my channel know that I wasn't a big fan of Dua's debut work. Like, yeah, some songs like Be the One and Harder Than Hell are good, fine songs, but for the most part, I thought her debut album sounded very boardroom curated. She has a unique voice, but nothing else really stuck out. And honestly, I expected her to wind up in the anonymous dance features category. Artists like BB Rexa, Anne Marie, Mabel, Rita Ora, and Ava Max. These type of artists that always do these EDM dance features. They have big hits to their names and radio-ready vocal tones, but not really a cult of personality or interesting artistic quirks that help them differentiate themselves from the corporate 2010s pop setup. And by the way, this is not said to be discouraging towards these artists. I've enjoyed a song or two from all of them, but I'm just calling it like I see it. Everyone has their lane they fit into, and that's the lane they fit into and have achieved the bulk of their successes in. And I feel like Dua's debut album, as well as many of her features, were setting her up for that territory. But as time went on, it seemed like her label was betting on her in a lot of ways that those type of artists don't usually get. She was receiving heavy promotion. She was being likened to people like Madonna, which I still think is totally insane and the furthest thing from the truth. She had music videos galore, features galore, her debut album was re-released a plethora of times, and she got the Best New Artist Grammy. Apparently Dua was signed to Warner or chose to be signed to Warner because they didn't have a big flagship female artist, as they once did. So by default, she would become a priority artist for them. And I think it has definitely shown in the amount of promotion she's had. But yeah, I was expecting Dua to follow in the footsteps of interchangeable radio dance pop girls. And then the simulation glitched and Future Nostalgia happened. Future Nostalgia is where some of those interesting artistic quirks came into play, at least production-wise. It's largely a new disco and 80s pop inspired album, and nothing on the radio sounded like it when it came out. Bottom line is it is genuinely good, well crafted, well studied, and well put together dance pop. And the Future Nostalgia era was rightfully milked for years, so much so that it didn't even feel like it took 4 years to reach radical optimism. It really was a perfect pop era, and something that's a rarity for the streaming era. What really made people like me who were skeptics of Dua become fans of Future Nostalgia was her overall progression and leveling up. More than anything, people are always going to appreciate growth, and she showed tremendous growth from her debut in every single aspect, from the music itself to the videos and performances. I would say my biggest gripe with Future Nostalgia is that I feel it does kind of suffer from some of that interchangeable radio girl energy at times. There are certain songs where I listen back and I feel like, okay, this sounds a little bit too general. There's not undeniable artistic quirks brought to every Dua Lipa song, in the same way there is for a Lady Gaga song, for example. There are certain aspects of a Lady Gaga song that makes it identifiable as a Lady Gaga song. But I do give Future Nostalgia credit because I think it began to paint a picture of what Dua Lipa could be as an artist, and all she had to do was hone in on it. While I still do think Future Nostalgia is a good album in a great era, I do think with time it has lost its initial starry-eyed impact on me. When talking about some of the great dance pop albums over the past decades or years, Gaga's Fame, Robyn's Body Talk, and even Beyonce's Renaissance, I don't think Future Nostalgia quite hits the nail as hard, but it is still a good and respectable effort that I think many new young stars would have been lucky to have created. But radical optimism makes Future Nostalgia feel like a fluke. A fluke whose essence was maybe a little overstated due to the pandemic. If there was a word for a third album slump, I think radical optimism would be it. I do think the title, as corporate speak as it sounds, alludes to there being something grander or maybe a little more clever to say, but as I've said previously, it pretty much says the same thing over and over and over. Dua leans hard into the "I'm a female alpha, you can't fool me" shtick. I also think the writing is a bit less tight than Future Nostalgia. I do think there are glimmers of hope on the album, like I love the concept of French Exit, sonically and lyrically. Marketing is also a big factor because the album was being touted as this dark pop vibe, but we were met with the sunniness of Radical Optimism. Dua also left her management who discovered her for her dad to manage her instead, and I'm sure that played a big part on the results of this era. It's also funny as well because usually the third or fourth album, think Beyonce, think Janet, is when the pop girls leave their dad behind as a manager. Dua did a bit of a pop tradition reverse where her dad became her manager. There was also so much buzz surrounding the sonic direction of the album, with people like Massive Attack and Blur being cited as influences, which is virtually non-existent on the album. But marketing is just the gift box. Like the gift box can come damaged, it doesn't mean that the gift itself is. But in Radical's case, I think the marketing and the music suffer. And for the most part, it's just disappointingly safe and feels like a regression. And a lot of the moments, not all, but a lot, feel like a return to that safe boardroom focus group feel of her debut. It sucks because Future Nostalgia was something special and showed that Dua is capable of more. There are those rare moments in an artist's career where the commercial and critical success align, the music is banging, and it becomes an iconic era. And I think that is the era for Dua Lipa. Future Nostalgia is her career-defining album, but will it be her only one? Only time will tell. I have learned to not count Dua Lipa out yet because she could come back like a boomerang. And I'm sure she has some more great songs in her, but my expectations certainly won't be very high next time around because the artistic consistency has yet to be proven.